Hello everyone, welcome back to AB-Aquariums. In today's video I'd like to talk a little bit about houseplants and how you can grow them out of your aquarium rather than just having plants in the tank and that's all you've sort of got. You can have things growing out the tank, no problem at all. So let's talk a little bit about what plants you can grow on the water's edge with the roots, only the roots going in the water, but all the leaves and all the foliage growing outside just like a normal houseplant would be. So let's have a little look at what plants we could do. So if we take a look at this pothos plant, for example, this is a golden pothos, nothing too fancy, it's quite a popular plant, a very common plant you could buy at most, even DIY stores will sell them, pretty much all garden centres will sell these. Just golden pothos, slight variegation in the leaves, nothing too wild, just a little bit of variegation there, and grows like crazy, no matter what, you'll struggle to kill it, put it that way. But I've got it growing out of an aquarium. This is my Mbuna tank, and they've all hidden away because I've got the camera. For some reason they're scared of the camera. This is the pothos roots dangling in the tank. Not very pretty, not the tidiest thing in the world if you wanted a beautiful aquascape, but I just want nitrate removal, that's all I really want. Or excess nutrient removal, that's all I'm really doing it for, and I quite like the look of plants growing up out of the tank. So there we go, we've got the roots dangling in the water, the rest of the plants growing out of water. It seems like, obviously a common wisdom would say that roots don't want to be drowning, houseplant roots don't want to be waterlogged and drowning, but it seems like they convert quite well over to aquatic growth pretty well. If obviously there's no soil on them, they're not trying to convert from aquatic to compost grown or vice versa, they're literally just purely sucking nutrients from the water column, and obviously the aeration to the roots is good. They're not rotting away in soil with minimal oxygen exposure. Basically, you can see a lot of air bubbles in this water here, just basically quite good oxygenation for the roots. So yeah, the plant loves it. It's growing like a weed. It was already a fairly long vine. I had it growing in another tank, and I moved it into this tank, and it's just continued growing away. If anything, it's got more of a variegation on the new leaves since it's been grown in this tank. These, as you can see, the new leaves here at the end of the vines here look really variegated, and that's what I've noticed since putting it in this tank. They've just gone really variegated, as you can see. So yeah, I've just got it going around the shelf. There's not actually that much light getting to this plant at all really, a little bit from the window, but there isn't that much light. There's a lot of ambient light in the room, but it's not too crazy. So yeah, that's pothos. Let's have a look at another option. So as you can see here, we've got the common Monstera deliciosa plant that you'll see in most garden centres and DIY stores and places like that. Very popular plant, and you can see why with those fenestrated leaves with the slits and the holes in them. I haven't got holes in my leaves yet, they're not quite at that point. If anything, the holes are ready to turn into slits but on the next leaf. But yeah, this clump here on the left, that was originally grown out of water. That I actually cut that from the right hand plant here, and I grew that one in one of my tanks, and that I potted it up because it had a nice root system after growing it in the tank for months, and it put on quite a few leaves. I'd say at least half a dozen leaves. When it was converting into soil grown, it did get a little bit of discoloration in some of the leaves, a little bit of a struggle there, but it seems to be putting out new leaves again. One down here starting to come up out of one of the stems is putting up a new leaf there, and then the other new leaf is coming out there. So it just goes to show it can convert from being aquatic grown to compost grown quite easily. You know, it's a little bit of it sulks for a little while, but it will change over the other way round. But if you wanted to take a snipping of the Monstera plant, just cut it just below the aerial root. So you see there, you've got like an aerial root coming out the side of the stem there. Some of them get really long, like that one there on the other plant. But if you just cut just below that node, I believe they call it, the node on the plant there, you cut just below that, and then that piece you've cut will happily grow in water. I mean, you could even get it rooted in a cup if you wanted to and kept changing the water. It works really well in fish tanks because you've got highly oxygenated water that's constantly moving over the roots. And this little piece here that I cut off, this is just a very small cutting that I took off the plant, and one of the leaves looked pretty much dead. But the root system, or the stem and the node, looked very good. There's just one leaf that grew out from the stem there. Didn't do too well, but it started to put another leaf. This is growing in my 180 gallon tank. and it's just starting to put some roots out as well out of the node, the aerial root there. You can just about see the aerial root putting out some thinner white roots there. And yeah, it will just continue, a bit like the pothos, you know, some finer hair roots will come out and that will just spread into the water column, go a little bit crazy, and we should get a nice quick growth from the top there. I mean, like I say, this isn't getting crazy light either. This is just getting ambient light from the rim and a little bit from the windows, which is just opposite. So it's getting some light, but nothing too crazy. You quite easily grow Monstera deliciosa in your aquarium, as well as pothos and just about any tropical rainforest plant that we grow as a house plant here in the UK. Philodendron, vining plants like Monstera, pothos. I think you could even get away with doing the snake plant as well. Plants like that love humidity, they seem to root really well in water, quite easily in water. So yeah, I'd highly recommend them if you want a little bit of lush green growth grown out of your tank, rather than just the standard planted aquarium that we're used to, which is also amazing. Obviously it's lovely to have. You know, you've got plants that like the Anubias that will happily grow up out of water and grow those leaves into an immersed state. No worries, most stem plants will do the same. They'll grow up high enough and they'll start growing out your aquarium. I'll just show you an example of that. As you can see here on my little 6-gallon tank, one of the stem plants, the Ludwigia plants, is growing up out of the water and is starting to show its immersed state growth. But yeah, that seems to be growing quite well under the AI prime light I've got above it, which is a little bit overkill, but it seems to be appreciating it quite well. And the leaves on those stem plants don't seem to change too much from the aquatic state to the immersed grown state, if that makes any sense. So yeah, you don't have to just do house plants to come out of the aquarium. You can quite easily do aquarium plants and they'll grow up out of the water as well. So yeah, plenty of options there for you. So there we have it. I hope that was of some use to you. I mean, it's quite easy to see that these house plants grow really well with their roots just in the aquarium itself. I mean, they're getting plenty of oxygen from the water. They're getting plenty of flow over the roots, so any stagnant water's being washed away and replaced. Rather than if you left it in a cup or a vase sitting on a shelf in front of the sun, you know, there's that water can go stagnant and it doesn't really. It's not as good as having fresh water all the time, like a marginal plant basically. Should give a pothos a go, philodendron, Monstera deliciosa, any sort of house plant, tropical house plants that, especially aerial rooted plants, they'll do really well in the aquarium. I'd give them a go. Why not? Got nothing to lose. Take care.